Hello and welcome to another episode of the Right Wing Report. My name is JP, and today I want to talk about the expansion of gun rights that I hope will happen under President Trump. Alright, let's get started. So, to me it seems like since the 1994 assault weapons ban that lasted until 2004, and maybe even before that, American gun owners have been more on the defensive. We've been trying to preserve the rights we already have, which is great, but not really trying to take back some of the rights that we may have lost. And so I think that, every time there's a mass shooting or some kind of instance of gun violence, Democratic politicians try to pass an assault weapons ban because that's their end-all be-all. That's going to fix everything, which from the other ban, we know it's not going to work. And the NRA and pro-gun politicians rally and, shut it down, which I'm glad that we have done. But like I said, there are some things that need to change. And I think under, having a pro-gun president like Donald Trump and a majority Republican-controlled Congress, that there can be a little bit more expansion of gun rights under this presidency, and I think that's something we need to do. It's time to stop being on the defensive. We need to go on the offensive. We need to take back the rights that we've lost. So I have a video about the Hearing Protection Act. I think that's one of the main ways, but there are some other ways that we can really improve the state of American gun owners. Alright, so right out the gate here, the first thing I want is a very big thing, and that is the repeal of the National Firearms Act. Okay, so the National Firearms Act talks about short-barreled rifles, short-barreled shotguns, full auto, and then suppressors as well as destructive devices. Now, like I said in a previous video, I talked about the Hearing Protection Act. What it would do is basically remove suppressors from this and make it easier to get suppressors, which I think is a great stride in gun rights. But I think repealing the NFA and replacing it with something a little bit less restrictive would be very good for gun owners. As far as destructive devices go, do you want to have grenades? Kind of, but I understand where the average citizen and the government would not want to have, people to have like claymores and grenades all the time. However, full auto and SBRs is something I'd like to have a lot more readily accessible to a law-abiding citizen. Now, the big secret about full auto is that it sucks. So if you're trying to use it like a full auto pistol, which is ridiculous, or a full auto rifle, if you're on target, you can point and you can have your first shot on target, and then boom, it shoots it shoots a bunch of different times, and you're off target. So really, it's not any more deadly because a well-trained marksman is a little bit more deadly on a fast trigger on a semi-auto than they would be on full auto. However, full auto is cool, and I want it because it's fun. Also, because the language that we use in defense of our freedom to have 30-round magazines and semi-automatic rifles is, well, the government has it, so we should have the same thing under the Second Amendment. Well, if that's true, then full auto falls under that. As far as SBRs go, I think there's a lot less threat from an SBR than you would from full auto, destructive devices, all that other stuff. SBRs, short-barreled rifles, and shotguns, I think not the excuse, but the reasoning behind banning them or making it hard to get them is that you can easily conceal it under a coat and then pull it out and start shooting. And I understand this, but if someone's going to do something like that, once again, this is our same argument for the assault weapons ban, against an assault weapons ban. If someone's going to do that, they're going to do it no matter what, if they have to use knives or whatever. So if someone's going to go shoot some people, they're going to find a way to conceal a longer rifle or just not conceal it and start shooting. I would be willing to compromise. So for the SBR thing, what I would like to see is either A, to make it a lot easier to get them, or B, to change the definition of an SBR. So to change it from 16 inches to 14.5 inches. So 14.5 is like the M4 carbine what the military uses, and I would think that would be a relatively even compromise. So still restrict short-barreled rifles, but just change the definition of a short-barreled rifle. So it increases what you can have. So we're not talking 47-inch barrel ARs or 10-inch barrels, which I think I think they're relatively harmless. However, to make it so that the average citizen doesn't have to go through all this paperwork just to get a 14.5-inch barrel just because it's a little bit handier, I think would be a good thing. So repealing the NFA and or reforming the NFA is something I'd like to see out of a Trump presidency and a Republican-controlled Congress. All right, so the next thing that I think could be done in order to expand on gun rights is to have national carry reciprocity. So what that would mean is that you get a driver's license in the state you live in, and you can drive in any other state. I think it should be the same thing with your concealed carry license. Some states have reciprocity, some states don't. And there's some great videos online. I think I'll try to link them to talk about the legality behind these things, what would happen if we had national carry reciprocity. But basically it means that we follow the Constitution. So there's something in the Constitution called the full faith and credit clause, meaning that what happens in one state has to be honored in another state. So, this is the whole argument for the Defense of Marriage Act actually gave states a waiver to the full faith and credit clause. So basically Massachusetts would allow the gays to get married, and other states didn't have to honor that, which of course is overturned, and now gay marriage is legal in all 50 states. So now that we're going to do that, how about we have national carry reciprocity? And I know it's different, but people make the mistake of taking issues, they're differing topics as they don't differ in law, which absolutely they have the same thing. I'm not saying there's any kind of correlation between, gay marriage and guns, but as far as the legality and the constitutionality and the precedents set by those Supreme Court cases, I think it's definitely possible to get national carry reciprocity. So then, of course, the question comes, what happens with states that won't issue those? Well, there's some states, and this is better explained in other videos, there's some states that give you a non-resident permit, meaning you can get a concealed carry permit from that state without having to be a resident. So if you live in, say, California, you could go ahead and get a non-resident permit, and then California would have to honor it. And so that would be kind of a fight. California would not like that at all. But I do think that would be great, and it's very important to defend yourself. I believe in concealed carry as a way to defend yourself from criminals, but also, we have ISIS as a problem. And if there's an ISIS attack, like there was in California, you need to be able to defend yourself. And I think expanding where you can, I'm not talking like carrying in government buildings, I'm talking just where as far as states. Like as far as allowing more states to have reciprocity, and hopefully all states have reciprocity. An armed society is a polite society, but also an armed society is a safe society. We can defend against whatever comes our way. And so national carry reciprocity is the second thing I want to see out of this administration. All right, so the last thing I want to see is a lot more general, and that's just to challenge a lot of the state gun laws in states that are a lot more restrictive. Now, I do understand states have the power to make laws that are a little bit more restrictive than the federal government. That's, the state's powers thing. But I do believe that a lot of this stuff falls under the Second Amendment, and if we bring some cases, to court, to the Supreme Court potentially with the help of the NRA, we could kind of remove some of these restrictions. And I think a lot of gun owners tend to get a little bit territorial, and they're like, well, screw California, I don't want to live there. I live somewhere where I can own whatever I want, so why wouldn't those people in California leave California? And sometimes I feel like that. If you want to have all those guns, leave. But for some people, California is their home. They want to live there, but they also want to have their Second Amendment rights. And I think that's a completely reasonable thing. I personally wouldn't live in California simply because of the taxes and a lot of the liberals. But, California is a beautiful state. And I think, the people there that want to own whatever they want should be protected. And I don't think we should give up on them as gun owners. We shouldn't just say, well, California's lost. All these other states are lost. We need to fight a little bit to once again regain those rights back. All right, so that's just a little bit about what I think can be achieved in this administration and what I hope will be achieved. Let me know in the comments whether you think it'll actually happen or whether you agree with it or not. And then also if you have any other suggestions for what I should talk about in the future. If you like that video, I'd encourage you to subscribe. I have a lot of stuff in the works that I think you might enjoy. You can go ahead and follow me over on Instagram at the Right Wing Report 76 and over on Twitter at RightWingJP76. And have a nice day.